even gonna lie, this feel like when a sensei dreamscapes. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I just got one question. Can I get a witness? Can I get a witness? Can I get a witness? I just got one question. Can I get a witness? Can I get a witness? Can I get a witness? Out 2 a.m. with my guys. Mickey D's cold fries, but it's better than I drive by. Mile high beams on 95. Gotta keep our eyes peeled for them 12 guys, yeah. Tank on E, hit the wow, yeah. 10 on 3, got a budget eye. Thinking about sleep, gotta tough it out, yeah. Leg on freeze, gotta walk it out, yeah. Beauty at the register, giving out dope service. I say have a good night, she say walk in your purpose. I can see your heart searching, yeah. I say have a good night, she say walk in your purpose. I can see your heart searching, it's okay to be broken. This is how I start to feel when my mind wander. Head up in the clouds while my mind ponder. I'm here all alone, I just can't find her. Caught up in a zone, I just can't find her. How I start to feel when my mind wander. Head up in the clouds while my mind ponder. I'm here all alone, I just can't find her. Caught up in the zone, I just can't find her. But then I come to, thinking back on Dad's words, like what he used to say when I act a fool. Oh, mind of mine that's quick to let the lips loose and never lose sight of what you're here to do. Growing up, I believe those words to be bulletproof. I still do. It's try true. A rope and dope is what I'm used to. But life then got wilder. It's time for that stick and move. Don't want it waking me up because I hit the snooze. I'll end up losing on love before it gets to bloom. Never been one for goodbyes, just hope I see you soon. And if it happens, I don't, just hope we see the truth. No questioning if it's real, we can both see the proof. Mercury told us that love kills, it got the juice. Yeah. Mercury told us that love kills, it got the juice. This is how I start to feel when my mind wanders. Head up in the clouds with my mind ponder. I'm here all alone, I just can't find her. Caught up in a zone, I just can't find her. How I start to feel when my mind wanders. Head up in the clouds with my mind ponder. I'm here all alone, I just can't find her. Caught up in the zone, I just can't find her.
Of me when the day is done. Not just anyone. If you feel so bad, then say a prayer for me. Of me when the feeling's gone. When you're all alone. If you feel so bad, then say a prayer for me. Of me when the day is done. Not just anyone. If you feel so bad, then say a prayer for me. Of me when the feeling's gone. When you're all alone. If you feel so bad, then say a prayer for me.
Love roller coaster. What did I just say? She coaster. I'm not even gonna lie, bro. I think I might. Come here. Hold on. Yeah, 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 yeah. Eyes closed, I'm ghosted. Weed bong, I'm toasted. hypnotized so deep inside. Eyes closed, I'm ghosted. Weed bong, I'm toasted. Never thought I'd be this high in the sky. I'm uncovering the truth on my mind. Eyes for you only. Love roller coaster. Never thought I'd see the truth in your eyes. Got me hypnotized so deep inside. So deep inside. Yeah. So deep inside. So deep inside. See you every day at 9 a.m. I know it was never accident. Looking for you, I've been looking for you. Got my bag and the map already explored for you. You know we ain't new to this. I'm expecting nothing less than excellence. No, we haven't seen it. Flip through peaks like Rolodexes. History, but is it all the rest? This melody might catch them all. Yeah, text look like a Pokédex. Sun kiss more valuable than gold. Shining well into the night, so days never get old. Shining well into the night, so days never get old. Whoa. Eyes closed, I'm ghosted. Weed bong, I'm toasted. Never thought I'd be this high in the sky. I'm uncovering the truth on my mind. Eyes for you only. Love roller coaster. Never thought I'd see the truth in your eyes. Got me hypnotized so deep inside. Eyes closed, I'm ghosted. Weed bong, I'm toasted. Never thought I'd be this high in the sky. I'm uncovering the truth on my mind. Eyes for you only. Love roller coaster. Never thought I'd see the truth in your eyes. Got me hypnotized so deep inside. Sometimes my head is my paradise, but in my thoughts danger lies. The quiet is comfortable. There are times you wander into my mind, an alibi for wasted time. The silence is comfortable. Then there are times I thought you got in my
Welcome to the first episode of a new series. It's called Chopping It Up with Tuck. And today you get a special treat because you get to talk to two Tucks. So the original and the extra crispy. And so we're just going to talk about fatherhood. We're going to talk about, since Father's Day is tomorrow, we're going to talk about fatherhood, and we're going to talk about it as it pertains to my father, I believe, who is the Papa Bear of all Papa Bears. He has a shirt on. You can get yours too. DiamondArrowTribe.com. You can go get your shirt for your father, or if you're a father and you want one, you can get one too. But today we're going to talk about my father and his journey as a father, and the impact that fathering has had on him, whether it be from his father, his biological father, or just the neighborhood of fathers, as the old school used to do, as far as having a village raise the children and not just be focused on one family focusing on themselves. So without further ado, we'll just get right into it. We share the same name, so we're gonna go by Tuck and Tuck on this episode for y'all out there. But we'll go right into it. So Pop, how you doing today?
Doing good.
Doing good. Okay. So when you think about going back to when you first knew you would be a father, what were some things that ran through your mind?
The ability to provide, teach, to ensure that you had all the necessities that you needed as a young man to become a man, to make sure I taught you to become a man and not be an absentee father. A lot of people are on set and not on set. So you could be in the house but not in the house. So that's basically you. Most men have a old school philosophy where they do all the work. The mother does the raising of the children, but because I had a situation growing up with my dad, he was in the house, but my dad was handicapped. So my thing was to be on set at all times. So basically, when you guys were born, it was like this journey of fatherhood. I'm going to be on the job every day. So no matter what you guys did, I wanted to be there. You know, whether it was a 15-minute play at the elementary school and I had to drive from Radnor to Glen Olden just to see it, I did it. You know, I went back to work and moved on because I knew those are the things that encourage young men when they see their parents, their father, at an event. That makes them feel confident that they can get through anything because of the support team. You know, with mom and dad, and particularly the dad. You know, because dad is normally the cover. You know, as far as protector of you and um, most people don't think that fathers can do both job, raise the kids. You know, I had a blast. I did some things that probably defy gravity as far as being able to coach my kids in high school, which I never expected. Um, Basketball, that is. Never expected that. I coached for a long time and I just thought I'd watch you guys play. So I got an opportunity to coach you. And, you know, I think when it first came about of being able to coach you guys, it was funny. I didn't go over to the school for one reason, and that was because I didn't want the kids that knew me and or knew you to think the only reason you made the team or your brother made the team is because of me. So I told the coach that I wouldn't be there for tryouts. He said, Tuck, don't worry about that. I said, well, I just want the kids to come and just try out and those kids because you know with you not going to the local high school up until ninth grade, nobody knew who you were. So I kind of wanted to just let you go over there and have your own identity without, oh, that's his father, so he's on the team. You went over there and made your own way. I showed you the way, and you made your way, so they came hand in hand. And I think that's what fathers are to do is to show their children the way, and then you let them go to be able to pave the way of their own identity. You know, I know we talk about namesake and all that. You know, like we share the same name, and that's just you know you're my firstborn boy, so I gave you you know my name just out of to carry on the name. Uh, Basically, the first name is just you know it's different. So if it was a basic name like John or you know Steve or just a basic name, I probably would have gave you a different name. But being that Levi is a different name and is out of the Bible, I've said I'll pass that on to you and let you run with it. Most men want their sons to carry on their last name, so that was not a problem. I didn't think you were going to, you know, change your last name, but not that you did, but you know, it's just you definitely.
You thought I might do a Malcolm X on you?
Yeah,
Throw the X at the throw the X on the end and talk about how we got where we got our last name from and all that. So, he was a little worried about that for a while.
Yeah, I was like, wow, you know, it's this, you know, so I enjoyed fatherhood from I think the time you were born. It was like we went everywhere. We did everything. It's like most people would say, you know, you don't get tired of having your kids with you all the time. Like I said, no, because there's going to be a time they're going to be on their own. They're going to go off to college. They're going to get married. So I figure, why don't I absorb this time? I call it the free time. You need me.
Right.
So when you got to be 16, 17, 18, that's when you start making your decisions that, okay, Pops taught me this, taught me that. A lot of things that I may have taught you and your brother from the beginning, it may not have sunk in until you started to really mature and it kicks in. And then all of a sudden you're like, man, I'm actually like sounding like my dad,
Mm-hmm.
just the discernment of even the safety thing that I taught you about. Be aware of your surroundings. And, like I said, teaching is probably one of the core things that I always was trying to focus in on you guys is teach, 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 teach. Because if you don't teach, then the streets will teach you. So I didn't want the streets to teach you what I could teach you.
Right.
So I taught you in a way where you could be who you are, a gentle giant, and if you have to change up and not be that gentle giant, I taught you those things. But you've been able to keep those two together, just like I did. There are going to be people all through your life testing and challenging you for any reason. They might not like because you're 6 foot, 6'4", 6'3". They might not like you. They might not like you because you're wearing a bush. They might not like you because you have a beard on. But you know what? That's who you are. Yeah. And that's the one thing I was always making sure that you and Jordan knew who you were. A lot of kids come by way of small identity crisis and always trying to aim to please the father. I don't know. You guys could probably tell the story better than me, but you guys never knew I played basketball for a long time, and I kept that a hidden secret.
Well, that you were like really good,
right?
Like
right.
good enough to be, you were D1 caliber player.
Well,
and we didn't know that growing up.
I kept all that stuff because I didn't want you guys to try to fall into a situation where, I gotta be like my dad. I wanted you guys to have your own identity as basketball players. Yeah. And you guys got very good at it. I mean, you guys had that same opportunity, but you said, you know what? I just want to do my academics and relax.
Yeah,
take it easy.
And I want to speak to that. I think it's important because to have you be as good as you were athletically, a lot of fathers who may not have even been as good as you were, particularly those fathers, like to try to live through their children.
Right.
And one thing you didn't do is force us to do anything. You didn't force. If I chose to put my all into baseball, then you would have just let it. You would say, "Good, I'm with you. I'm right behind you on it." Even though that might not have been your top sport, you would have made that your top sport. My son, that's what he wants to do. He want to take baseball to the highest level he could take it. Then we're gonna roll with that. If I said I wanted to be on a debate team, you would have said, "That's what my son does. I'm gonna look up what debating is, the strategy, the technique." And I'm gonna help him get better at that. I'm gonna help him hone his craft. So that's a testament to you as a man that you didn't feel the need to force us to play. And I remember you telling me that. It's weird that I remember these kind of key conversations we had. And you told me straight up, I believe I probably was maybe 12 or 11 or something like that. And you were just like, if you don't want to play basketball anymore, you don't have to play basketball. If we're in the middle of a season, you need to finish the season. That's one value you instill in us. Don't quit.
Right.
But when the season's over, if you find out I don't like basketball anymore, I don't want to play anymore, we don't have to come up here and register you for any basketball. You don't ever have to go to a tryout again. Right. And even as good as I was as a father, you could have said, "Oh no, you ain't giving up basketball. That's going to be at least your ticket to get a free education." Which you were like, "I want you to use this." So that's what I really took from you. You worked for the post office, delivering and carrying for what, 23 years, 24 years. And so one of the things you were big on, because that was a bit of a sacrifice that you made for us as a family. And that's another thing, sacrifice. That's a big thing that I learned from you too, is when you need to, sometimes being a man and being a father is making a sacrifice to where you can help particularly with your children, be able to be free and follow their dreams. And so I learned that from you. And a big thing you always told me is, I don't want you. I remember I was 18, 19, and a couple of my friends were getting jobs at the post office, talking about all the money they were making. And one thing you told me straight up, and I mean, you said you a young man, you can make your own decision, but don't get caught up in it because you're gonna look back 20 years later and be like, man, I got you get caught up in the money because you can make decent money, but sometimes there could be a blockage to where you can go from there. Or do you want to have the wear and tear on your body? You always said it, I want you all to use your mind and not using tearing your body down so that you don't have so that you can have a good life of longevity. You don't have all these ailments going on because you spent all that time pounding the pavement and doing the stuff. He was like, because the post office is they're gonna work you. You're gonna work at the post office. And physically you're gonna work. So if you're ready for that, and then you get caught up and you start. One thing you taught me financially was if you take a job like this and you make all this money, your life will match it. So then what happens is now you get stuck because you done bought a really nice car, you bought a house, all on that salary. So then when you think like, well, maybe I want to do something different, I want to go a different route, and maybe for a season you might not be making the money to sustain all of that stuff. Then you get caught up. Right. So that's one big thing that I took away. And I always was like, I use my mind. And that was in every aspect. You always taught me to use my mind, whether it be with encounters. So like you said, I'm a big guy. And if I wanted to be a menace, I could be a menace. But that's not how you raised us. That's not how you and mom committed to raising us. And to have a man really raise us in a way where we were not using, because our family, we're big men, the family. So to have a man say, that's not what I want for my sons. I don't want y'all to be known as like bullies or the guys who run around. If anything, you use your size to help defend those who can't defend themselves. Defend yourself if you need to. So that's another big thing. So I want to jump into another question. What about, so between me and Jordan, and then I'll ask a follow-up question. What do you say about me and Jordan as far as our personality? What do you see as the most like you from each of us? So like starting with me and then go to Jordan. Like what is like maybe one or a few things that you see like you have these qualities and Jordan has these qualities that come from just who I am?
Well, what I see with you, you have the gift of gab. So most people probably don't know I do talk a lot, but I'm more, when I talk, I try to talk and give wisdom. I'm not just yakking to be talking or to hear myself talk. I don't need to do that.
Right.
I always said if I'm going to talk to him, I've been coaching for almost 23 years. I want somebody to walk away with something, right? Not an empty bag. And I remember you had a friend that said, your dad is not like them other old heads. Every time we sit and talk, he always gives me something that I can carry through my life.
Right. So
when you hear young men that don't, particularly live in the home say that on the outside, and how many kids have came through the house, and
right.
We would have 19 kids in the basement, pizza, the whole shebang, and it was just the house to be at, So yours would be more the gift of gab, the insight and wisdom to even be able to help others in any situation that they're in. Like it's something that it just comes natural to be able to even have the discernment if someone's not feeling well, and you can go have a conversation with them, and they'll feel a little bit better about whatever their situation was. And you might not even touched on it, but you just see that you have that discernment that comes natural. And most people have to be told, oh, John's not feeling well, we're going to pray for him or we're going to do this for him. But you see that and you will address it like right away. You get right on it. So that's something that I share as well, the discernment for people, period. I deal with, from the oldest is 98. I'll say the youngest would be my next door neighbor, which is 2 years old. So, I spend a whole lot of time just enjoying people.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you have that same quality where you enjoy people and not to be saying, look at me, I don't want any publicity for anything I do. You never
Mm-hmm.
heard me. You know what I do.
Yeah.
You don't hear me talk about anything I do because it ain't really me that needs to say, well, look what I can do.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have a bragging, boastful way about who I am. I'd prefer the people that if they want to brag and say, hey, Levi did this for me, Levi did that for me, that's fine, you
Mm-hmm.
know. But I'm not looking for any publicity or accolades. It's just I help you make your life better. That's cool,
Mm-hmm.
So you have that, in you. Um, so it just comes out, and I see you, and I just like I fall back as much as you were growing up and you were, doing your thing, and it was just funny. Like I would say, oh man, I don't know if he's getting this stuff. It just seemed like he
Mm-hmm.
just taking it and putting it in his pocket. I'll use it when I'm in my 30s,
Yeah. I
But
was definitely the more difficult to kind of gauge on that front. Like as far as was I tuned in to everything you were saying.
but believe it or not, my conversations with you were always I didn't let you go. Like
Mm-hmm.
if I didn't think you got it, I'd come a different way and bring the same kind of scenario to you.
Mm-hmm.
And if you got it that way, I was cool. So I knew I could move on. I knew I was safe. Like even when you went off to college, it wasn't even like we as parents worry about anytime you guys walk out the door.
Mm-hmm.
So let alone go to college was a whole nother issue.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I gave you some advice on how to handle when you went to Westchester. I said, you just graduated from uh, getting out of Delaware County.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, the best thing to do, buckle down, find a nice looking woman, get a study partner, do your academics. So you took my advice on that,
Mm-hmm.
and um, you done very well for yourself, and that's what made me realize you actually was listening.
Mm-hmm.
So when I see the stuff that I was talking to you about, I said he was listening. So a lot of times when Dwayne, aka Uncle Dwayne,
Mm-hmm.
is when we're talking, we always talk about you and how deep you go with just your intellect. Is far beyond the average.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like if you put a guy in a situation and you don't think he's paying attention, and he can be watching a guy weld, and the guy's welding, and he's not teaching me how to weld, but I'm watching him.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you did all the time. So you would always see me and Dwayne in our interaction, in our conversations, and you
Mm-hmm.
realize, wow, that's some good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like you never heard us cursing and acting like fools or
Right.
blasphemy and any of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It was always solid stuff that if you're going to be around kids, children, they got to be able to say, man, not that I want to be him, I just want to be a man, a strong man like him.
Mm-hmm.
Just a quality. Nothing to
Right.
do with I want to be modeled like him. I want to walk like him.
Right. Right.
I just want to be a strong man, and how people look at men.
Mm-hmm.
Stature, like you said, big stature. First thing people think, I ain't gonna mess with that guy. That's the
Right.
last guy I'm gonna mess with.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't put that facade out there.
Mm-hmm.
I make it so I'm just as easy to come to as the next man.
Right.
So you have that, and
Mm-hmm.
all the qualities I see how you actually you had your little cheat note, you were writing stuff down,
Mm-hmm.
but you was like you would wait till you got away from me to write all your notes down.
Yeah.
I think you wrote them in the bedroom on the floor. I'm not sure.
I might have.
Because when I pulled the carpet up, there was a lot of notes down there. So it that's what I would say is, and the biggest thing is most people don't have is patience.
Mm-hmm.
You have that, and that's another good quality. So you got that honestly,
Mm-hmm.
to be able to just sit and be still, and that came from my grandfather, which
Mm-hmm.
I stole that out of his page, out of his book,
Mm-hmm.
of teaching you guys the art of patience.
Right, right.
I know I had to go back and forth to work. You're here with your mother, and I didn't need to say or her to say Levi's out of control, Jordan's out of control.
Mm-hmm.
So I made it easy to make sure I gave all the instructions and how things were going to be.
Mm-hmm.
We had a great time growing
Yeah.
up.
It was
I mean,
clear. That's a big piece that you just said. That it was definitely clear expectations. We lived in a very consistent environment. So that is big too, because sometimes and I never so I remember, I was a bit mischievous as a kid. And I remember getting into stuff, whether it be at school or at home, or just testing the waters with mom sometimes, and maybe overstepping a little bit, and she would have to let you know. And I remember, I remember being a kid and only being able to conceptualize that I felt like I was afraid of you. But as I grew older, I said, no, 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 I wasn't afraid of my dad, because I never thought my dad would harm me or hurt me. I said it was just a high respect, and I never wanted to disappoint him, because you were clear. It wasn't like you weren't saying anything, and then all of a sudden you would just go on 0 to 100 on this, right, and start like going in on this. The part was, the expectation was set, and it was simple. It was like, you be respectful to me and your mother, and we will, like you said, we had fun. We did stuff. And even when times might have been tight, even financially, you always, because we were good kids, you always made a way to do whatever you like. If we wanted to go on a vacation, or get this toy, or I mean sneakers, I don't know. You got to be in the whole 50K at least on sneakers.
Rest assured, I'll be coming back for some of that money.
So I mean, when I think about all that stuff, I think about how consistent it was, and yeah, we were y'all spoiled us, not rotten, because we knew how to behave, and that's a testament, that's something that has been spoken to you all from other people when we go to other people's house, or if we all go as a family, and they always point out their kid might be acting crazy, and they look at us, man, what's up with your kids? They playing and having a good time, but at the same time, they in control. Like, and if you tell them to come here, you gotta tell them something, or if it's time to eat, and you say, come on, let's eat, they're coming right over. What is that? And it's a level of, like I said, there was just a level of respect. And then even further than that, there was a level of safety. So if my dad is calling me, I'm going to my dad, because I don't know what's going on. I'm not acting like I don't hear what he's saying, because my dad is my protection. So if he's calling me, even if it ain't something that I need protection from, he could just be calling me to say, hey, we can already leave in 30 minutes. You could just be calling me for that. But in my mind, I'm thinking, my dad's calling me. Let me get over there and see what's going on, because he might be calling me for a reason. Because that's my secure place right there. So that's definitely a place. And I think security goes well beyond like the physical aspect. It's like, that's my safe space. So if my dad, who is my safe space, is calling me, I need to get near him, because he got something to tell me. I could, like, if I ignore you, you could be saying, after we leave here, we're going over to the courts, or after we leave here, I'm gonna take y'all, like when we were little to Chuck E. Cheese, right, and I miss out on it because I want to be, like doing my own thing. I don't want to go home. I want to stay over here with these people. And it's like that. Like, I'm ready to take y'all to get some water ice, or one of our favorite pastimes, going down to the airport and watching the planes. That was something we would love to do. So like little stuff like that, I would have missed out on it if I wasn't listening and tuned into your voice, and didn't see you as a safe space. Like, okay, dad's calling me. Let me get there to see what instructions or what's going on.
Right.
Then I can go on, and do whatever, and so you always, and that's one thing, like you mentioned earlier, you said you took us everywhere. You had us everywhere. And that is something too, like, lot of times,
knows y'all.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Everybody knows. Like, I walk in the store now, and because I look like just a bigger version of what I was then, people know me. They're like, man, Levi, little Levi, what's up, man? And it's like people I like having trouble sometimes remember, because I was so little.
Right.
But they just know, they just one. I had somebody say they didn't know who I was, but they did know I was a Tucker. And then they said, and I think you're like they would say, I think you're Levi's son, because like that's your brand. Like you got your kids with you.
Right.
So I appreciate that because people don't understand. You don't understand how you all out there. Y'all don't understand how important it is for a man and a father to show their children that he wants them around, not that he's just obligated. When we look at the movie Fences, the son kept asking his dad, "Do you like me?" and all that kind of stuff, and the dad's like, "Or do you love me?" And the dad and you know the dad just responds, Troy's just saying like, "Listen, I put food on the table, I keep a roof over your head. I ain't got to like you." And that's like paraphrasing what he said in the movie. My dad's totally opposite of that. He put food on the table, he put clothes on our back, roof over our head, and on top of that, bought us sneakers, multiple pairs of sneakers for every basketball season we played in. I played baseball too, so cleats. Jordan did some other stuff, so he had to get money for that. Did all of that stuff, but on top of that, he took the time to spend time with us and be with us and show us. I know for a fact that my dad not only loved me because he did all those things, but he also liked me and my brother. He liked to be around us. He found joy coming around us, especially spending time at work all day. He found it as tired as he might have been physically, that it was like I don't what else I'm gonna do but go home and spend time with my boys. And so I could count on my hands how many times after work that Pop had to maybe do something else, and that only just maybe extended the time that we got, like as far as like to when we got to see him. But at the same time, you mostly came in and we was right out the door, right out the door, and so that is something that's really big, and that forms the character and the personality and things like that. And so looking back, I'm like, man, like I've had a wealth of just having you as a father. Like I'm wealthy just off of that. So be walking into fatherhood, I have such a great foundation to build on that there's a sense where I'm not nervous. I'm not nervous. I know it's not going to be easy. It's not easy. Parenting and being a father is not easy, but I'm not nervous because I have such a good foundation to build on, and that foundation has to be sturdy so that you can build up. And so you built the foundation, and now it's time for me to take it to another level. Take it up a few stories and go even higher. And that's another thing you always wanted for us is to do better than you did as men. Be better, move better. You were constantly on me in high school. That was my era where I really was just like trying to figure out who I wanted to be, as far as how I wanted to act, how I wanted to, even think and speak and things like that. And you were constantly after me about like being different. I got my bull shirt on that says "Be different and be you," and so that's I'm getting some more from them too. You all should get some too. But I love this saying because that's what you taught us. You taught us to be different, and then you went behind that and said, "But if you just be you, you will be different."
Right? Nobody can be you.
Exactly,
so,
and you shouldn't want to be anybody else. Right. It's okay to like, I love Iverson. It's okay to like him. It's okay to like, for the generation now, LeBron James or even, Kobe Bryant, rest in peace. It's okay to like those guys, and those are like who we looked at as like. Before the Avengers, those guys were those guys.
Right.
Before you see the comic book superheroes as is today in movies, we looked at the NBA players as those like superhero dudes. And so you said take aspects that you like, but don't try to make yourself that person. Right. Even with you said you're already, because I'm the DNA. You're already going to be like me in certain ways.
You can't get,
but you don't want to be. Yeah. So, you don't want to just make yourself completely me.
Right.
And so, what would you say is the one thing that Jordan has?
Well, just on the one thing you said about the teaching part,
mm-hmm.
I want to touch on before I go to Jordan.
Okay.
Is how you mentioned that the people would say, how come your kids behave so well? What's going on there? Like,
mm-hmm.
and I said, they said, how do you get them to behave like that? And I said, teach them. Mm-hmm. I said, because kids are clay, and you got to mold them to what you want. So right. If I let my kid outside every day to just play out in the yard, he's going to do whatever he wants.
Mm-hmm.
But if I go out there with him, He's going to do what's right, and he's going to play more of in a constructive way.
Mhm.
So I told most people that would ask me, because they were floored, that some people, we would go over to their house and you and Jordan would just sit on the couch and chill. And they say, that's unheard of. You know, most kids come in the house and jump on the couch.
Yeah.
I said, but if you teach them, you don't have to worry about that.
Right.
So I don't want to be one of those guys who get the phone call, your kids laying in the street, somebody beat them up, he got shot, any of that stuff.
Mhm.
So it's important that you got to be the school teacher to your kids and your sons in particular.
Mhm.
We got a Black Lives Matter thing going on right now that's real big. And we got people out there trying to cloud the issue up saying all lives matter. But I haven't seen any of those people that say all lives matter. I haven't seen any of those people's family members with somebody's knee in their neck yet.
Mhm.
So it ain't about all lives right now. Your life has already been has mattered.
Mhm.
It's time to let our lives matter as
Right.
well.
Mhm.
And that's where they're losing focus. So we got to almost keep pulling them back in to understand
Mhm.
your life has been fine.
Mhm.
It's time to pull us. Let's meet everybody at the middle of the road now.
Yeah.
So I won't touch any more on the Black Lives Matter, but there's some stuff that I saw today was really, disalarming to me.
Yeah.
But as far as Jordan, as far as similarities with me, I would say Jordan has that tentative as far as before he gets to let you in who he is,
Mhm.
he stands off. He wants to study you.
Mhm.
Jordan will study you until he says, "Okay, I'm gonna let you in." And I like that about him because that allows him to say, "I know this person's safe. I know this person ain't gonna harm me, and I'm allow this person in my life to be my friend."
Mhm.
And that's a discernment that I always had to pick and choose. Like you can't pick and choose your family. I'm your father, you're my son.
Mhm.
Can't pick that. But you can pick, and I'm using an example, Keon. You picked him and chose him as your brother.
Mhm.
So that's a choice.
Right. Right.
So that's the difference. So Keon's like a brother because Keon was here 99.9% of the time.
Mhm.
I got to send him a bill. So Keon
Oh,
will get a bill.
By the time you done with all of us, you gonna be a wealthy
I'll
man.
be very wealthy. So there's a lot of guys out there. I mean, so not to jump off topic, but I had a young man I coached probably from he was 12 to about probably I would say 15 years old, I'll roughly say.
Mhm.
And when I was out with my surgery, he came by the house daily
Mhm.
just for counsel. And he was going through some things that he needed information. He doesn't have a father. His mother passed away, and he needed information and for somebody to get him to the next level.
Right.
And I helped guide him back to where he needed because he was off track.
Mhm.
Because the guys that were telling him to do what he was doing were way off. I mean, this kid would still be out of work if he would have listened to them. Because he was basically in a car accident, bogus lawyer, and it just really it wasn't good. So
Right.
I got him back to work, got him to understand some things about life. Because the longer you stay out of work, your clock stops as far as retirement.
Mhm.
So getting back to Jordan, so he has that nice thing where he studies people, gets to know them, lets them in. I've been also called cheap. I mean, I can have $1,000 in my pocket today. It'll be there Friday because I just don't like to part with money.
Mhm.
I always feel like most of these things out here you can get anytime. So I try not to be excited about, oh, there's a new this or there's a new that, and I gotta go get the fresh new thing. I try to teach you guys that, and Jordan has that quality, but Jordan wants to use your money to make it happen.
Because he still wants to get. I was gonna say he still wants to get the stuff. So he's like calculating, like
exactly.
How can I get over here?
Right,
and
keep
then
my money safe.
Yeah.
So he still has that quality of making, managing his money properly, because I
Yeah.
always told both of you guys about your money,
Mhm.
you know, maintaining your credit and being smart about it. You know, and when I share these different type of stories, it's things I learned all the way coming to where I'm at today
Mhm.
about credit, about finance, and
Mhm.
you know, we're on a different scale when it comes to finance and credit as black men.
Yeah.
We, our stuff,
You
soon as
gotta
we
be
walk
able.
in, we're 12.5.
Yeah.
And I don't mean to make it obvious, but they might get the white person might get 3.2.
Mhm.
How's that happen?
Same credentials,
Same credentials.
same level of credit, same everything.
I knew a guy.
And companies got exposed for that
Right.
within the last, like in the recent years.
I knew
Doing
a guy that was a member of the same credit union I was. Filed bankruptcy twice. And I asked the lady at the front window, I says, what was he doing here? She said, oh, he just got a loan. Blah, blah, blah. You know, she didn't give too much into his business. But I knew him because he worked with me at the post office.
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean he gave him a loan? You know, he wanted to go buy a new car. So at that point, and that's going back 20 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
I realized they are really hosing us
It's a
as
different
black
game.
people.
It's two different games.
Right.
It's two different playing fields, I should say.
Exactly. So that was one of my key facts of you guys going up another notch,
Mm-hmm.
so that nobody can block you.
Right.
Like your core group of friends, that's what I like about them all. They all took it up to the next level.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't say, okay, bachelor's degree is basically to us is just our high school degree. We're gonna go get our master's degrees, so you can't stop us.
Right.
And just your core of friends that you guys have, Jordan, and you know, like Dave Brown and Josh and Jason and the Johnson quintuplets, you know, those guys.
The tribe of bears.
Yeah. You know, you guys like really changed the game. Like
mm-hmm.
I would not, in my time of growing up, I started narrowing down people I started associating with,
Mm-hmm.
because the core you have
Mm-hmm.
are all doing the same thing, all getting the same kind of education. So my core turned out to just being Dwayne, because
Mm-hmm.
I could trust him. So when you got a good core of friends that you can have that window wider open.
Right.
You know, because you got a nice, and everybody trusts everybody, thinking the same. You all kind of got married at the same time. You're all having kids together at the same time. So you got something to build off of.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to think of another thing. Jordan is basically my height, and
yeah. He took after physique. He definitely
physique.
took after.
He took after me in height. I still know Jordan was probably, and I must say, when I watched him on the basketball floor, I always tell him this, and you're gonna probably laugh, but he's probably one of the best defenders I've ever taught the game of defense.
Mm-hmm.
And I can be honest, I played enough defense to be on the floor,
Mm-hmm.
but I wasn't like Jordan when it came to defense.
Mm-hmm.
Jordan will study your game. That's like he does when he studies people. He sits there and studies your game. And I taught him a trick in how to steal the ball. And I know he took it and mastered it,
right.
and took it long, way past what I expected.
Mm-hmm.
But I said, if you listen to the basketball, you'll know where the ball is.
Right.
And it makes a distinctive sound.
Mm-hmm.
So I can see Jordan studying most people when he played them,
mm-hmm.
and he'd be listening to the ball. And Jordan would get, I don't even know if they kept the stats on the amount of steals Jordan had. But
right.
Jordan would, I don't care how well you could dribble, it was guys that was just classified that, oh, he's going to lay Jordan on the ground.
Yeah.
And they would make their moves on Jordan, and Jordan be going down the other end laying the ball up, and they'd be like, oh, that was a foul. And they looking like, hold on, call the cops.
Listen.
Jordan would take the ball off the average joker.
Oh, yeah.
And so the way he studies people, and he had listened to the ball, he does that in his real life, even paying attention to everything going on in the world. You know, you have a conversation with him, he's on point to what's going on.
Yeah.
You know, he's having good conversations, even with his presidents of his companies. You know, he's not afraid to like, okay, I know who you are.
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna reach out to you. He's not afraid. And you know, most of you guys don't know I was a salesman for a long time, industrial salesman, which is probably the hardest sales to do, and that's cold calling. You walking in these businesses trying to sell them something. First thing they doing is slamming the door in your face. And being a black man walking in, nobody was buying from us.
Yeah.
So I broke that down pretty good and got into most of these companies, and they're very well at it. So yeah, Jordan, very, very like conservative, laid back. You know, another type. You know, I don't need any publicity. Don't look at me. I'm over here. He may have just walked. You know, I don't know, and saved the dog. He might tell you. He might tell me, yeah, Dad, I had to save a dog. You know, but he's not looking for publicity.
Right.
It's not a publicity like check me out. And some people live like that. They want people to see what they're doing, like to validate who they are. It's like I've never felt like I had to do anything to validate. Most people don't even know what I can do. You know, and I'm saying from building a house to building or working on your car to whatever. I probably could do just about anything. But most people don't know that because I don't talk about it.
Right.
I mean, I'm talking to you about, I've taken you to some of my jobs, taken Jordan to some of my jobs, you know, and I'm saying the jobs that I do, helping people around their homes and that kind of stuff. And I knew you guys probably sit back and like, man, I know my dad could do that. So I'm very good with my hands when it comes to building, and I never went to school for that. I did what I told you in the beginning. I sat there and I watched somebody. So sometimes it's smart to have a silent tongue and an attentive ear to pay attention to what's going on so that you can learn something. And that's all in that patience thing. Just sit and watch. You'll learn something. But if you're talking all the time, your ears are closed because you can't, I mean, you can, but you basically can't hear because you're talking.
Right.
So it's better to, you know, and that was one quality I could say ran through both of you guys is you paid attention, you had the patience, you were teachable. And I always said that to you, be teachable. Don't ever shut that out because if someone deems you, oh, I don't want to be bothered with them, I don't want to teach them anything. Now you're not learning. And that's not what you're here for.
Right.
You're here to continue my legacy and my father's legacy, which is your grandfather, his father, which is my grandfather. The only way you get some of that stuff to continue, and I'm not talking about anything that they did bad, I'm just saying the good stuff.
Yeah.
You know, just, you know.
Take the good and build.
Right.
And beware of the bad so you don't slip into it.
Get caught up in it, you know. So, you know, like I said, the one thing I took from my grandfather was patience. You know, and the one thing I took from my dad, and I probably said it before, I knew he was able to protect us. And the funny thing about him being able to protect us, my dad was blind. And being blind and you saying, man, I feel safe. And when a man can create that kind of safety for you and he's blind, my dad talked to me like I'm talking to you right now. You would never know he was blind. He would go and walk up to the top of the street and come back and he would say, oh, he can't be blind. How's he getting around like this? But he wasn't afraid. He didn't let the handicap make him handicapped.
Right.
So he did things. He taught me how to do my first set of brakes. Like Jordan was 2 or 3 sitting on a bucket. I remember when I was 2 or 3 sitting on the bucket when he was teaching me how to do brakes. I don't know if Jordan retained it, but he might have the concept. But I retained it because I always end up having to do brakes for my dad's car that I was driving at an early age. You know, so I learned a whole lot from him. He had 7 boys and 2 girls. So, you know, to be blind and be able to be a strong mentor over that kind of setup, you know, I commended it, but I took it to another level because my father being blind, I was like, well, you know, I don't know what that's all about. it happened before he turned 30, and it was from a disease called macular degeneration of the retina.
Mm-hmm.
So it has to happen to you before you're 30.
Mm-hmm.
So, all my brothers, we made it over the mark. So, um, I didn't want to be in a situation like my dad and not see you guys, not be able to teach you guys. So I don't know what that feels like to be a man that's blind, to have kids and you don't see them.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that would be almost a correlation to a man that has kids and don't raise them,
Yeah.
where this man was blind and did raise us.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, I'm going to take it to another level. That's why I ended up, as soon as I got off work, it was here to the park, to wherever. We're doing something. We're going to be active. So
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't just keep you bottled up in the house. I got you guys out and moving and every day. So it was really important for me to make sure I raised up to another level so that when you have kids and Jordan has kids, you could take it up that next tier.
Okay.
I'm not saying, I know you guys say I spoiled you and all that kind of stuff. I just made sure you had the necessities of what you needed, gave you some things just for being good kids. And most times kids aren't rewarded for being good kids. So I made sure you guys, like, people say, oh, you spoil the kids. And I said, not really. I says, if you have kids that just don't get in trouble, they do everything you ask them, they come home when you ask them, they don't teachers call in here. I says, what's the reward?
Mm-hmm.
To live in the house? Well, that's an obligation.
Mm-hmm.
So the reward would be, hey, what pair of sneakers do you want? What's this you want? What gaming system you guys want to split and share?
Mm-hmm.
Most of the things I made you guys share together to learn to be a unit.
Yeah.
And I always taught you guys, you're a team
Mm-hmm.
in this house and outside this house more than anything.
Yeah.
So, it's every day was a teaching moment, and it was enjoyable to be able to teach you guys, and now to be I would say I'm in the passenger seat because I don't ride in anybody's back seat. So
you ain't Miss Daisy, huh?
I ain't Miss Daisy. So if I ain't in your passenger seat, I'm in my car.
Right.
Real simple. So if anybody says I'm gonna pick you up, Tuck, and they got two people in the car already, and somebody's in the front, you can rest assured.
I'll meet you there.
I'll meet you there.
I like sitting in the back either.
Yeah,
so
I'll ride nobody's
I
back seat. It's just uncomfortable feeling to not have control of that steering wheel in the event that guy checks out or has an issue. So I can't be in the back. So
so one of my fondest, and Jordan is in here. There's a few people that actually said Happy Father's Day to you.
Thank you.
Your nephew Nate, Danilia said Happy Father's Day. Josh Smith said Happy Father's Day. Christiana and David, they're on here watching. And I'm sure that the kids are watching as well. Uncle Dwayne's in here. Shout you all out. Thank you for tuning in. The next thing I want to talk about is a really fond moment, or not moment, a fond time in our childhood, which was it's two parts. So one part is when we were kids, me and my brother, we always, before we went to bed, first of all, it wasn't an option. I don't know if many of you out there can attest to this. It wasn't an option for us not to be taking showers and stuff at the end of the day. We had to take the showers and to get into bed and all that kind of stuff. Pop was big on hygiene, so you wasn't playing that game. We didn't really go through that funky stage that a lot of kids go through because Pop was just like, we ain't here for that. That's not a part of, that's not our culture. And so one of the big things that I want to say is, one is we would get ready for bed, take our showers and all that good stuff, get all fresh, and we would get a dad shirt. So that was a big time. I remember me and mom were just talking about that. And I said, yeah, we definitely did used to get a dad shirt every night. And it was so good because it was like a ritual. Like you would wait at the dresser and you would open up your t-shirt drawer and you would have us come and pick whatever shirt we wanted to pick out of there. Now, mind you, these are shirts that he would, if we didn't pick them, he might wear them. If it's like the weekend and he's off or something, he might wear this up. So he these shirts had his cologne on them. So I think a big part of it was like going back to the safety and security. As kids, is like you're scared of the dark and you don't want to whatever you're scared of. As kids, it could be like you imagining monsters or whatever. But having that dad shirt on was like a shield. So we wanted to put that dad shirt on. The other thing, which I want you to kind of go into for a little bit, is the specialist, and maybe how you came up with that, and kind of passing the mantle to me. And this will be this is recorded, so passing it to me, but also at the same time, Jordan as well. He's tuned in. Jordan is in here too. Shout out to you, baby boy. Uh, how did that come about, and what were your thoughts? And then the final question will be, how do you feel transitioning into, you'll always be a father, but how do you feel transitioning into being a grandfather? So you do the specialist thing first, the origin of that.
The funny thing about the t-shirts that I thought was special was you guys did come down the hallway. It was almost like I was giving out ice cream just to get a dad shirt for the night, because you knew it was dad shirt and bedtime story. And Jordan, I can remember Jordan's shirt was so big on him, it literally covered his whole body right to the ground. Like, you guys were small, not you.
Yeah.
You actually fit my shirt.
Yeah. I was getting, yeah. You're right.
But Jordan's shirt would hang on the ground, and he would just be, he would always want to get in front of you to be the first to get that shirt.
You were first pick.
First pick. So that was special to me, that part of being able to just give you something to be comfortable at night to rest. And have me next to you, even though we were down the hall from each other.
Right.
So the other question was
the origin of the specialist.
Well, I was going to say the specialist came about of, you guys knew I was dad. So I just wanted to create not a fantasy, but just separate from me, because I don't want to take away from me being your dad and the stuff we do as a dad, but you guys knew I was talking about me as the specialist and the things that I did and what the specialist role was. And he was doing things like saving the neighborhood and helping, the neighbors, and he was just a mild-mannered superhero called the specialist.
Right.
And I just wanted to give you guys a part of being able to use your creative imagination of something. Like one thing you probably remember, and Jordan can remember, and I hope this doesn't hurt any. I hope no kids are on here. But the one thing I told my kids at a very young age is no such thing of a guy in a red suit. I'm the red suit. And the reason why I wanted to be known that I was the red suit, because I was the guy going to work to provide for these guys. So I didn't want to give someone else the credit for what I was doing for them. So I would explain to them, just don't go to school, because there are people that still believe in the red suit. And I don't want to lie to you, and you say, you figure out, oh, there is no Santa Claus. So I thought, if I tell these guys right up front, it's Daddy Claus. That's who buys all your stuff. Break it down to them. I used to give them books, tell them to look through the books for Christmas things, choose some things. I had a money set of what they were going to get. And I always put it in a situation where they got an X amount of dollars and they had to split it and decide what they wanted to purchase as a brother, as a unit. So it was always a gaming unit, which took up some of their money, and they would do clothes and a couple things and some games. But they would end up with a nice little setup for Christmas. So I just never thought anybody should sell the whole Santa Claus thing to have your kids behave a certain way. So that's why I never wanted to also say, hey, you got to be good because Santa's coming. Hey, you know, that's all fake stuff to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't want to be fake in teaching you guys things. So, like I said, most of your friends will always say, you know, every time I talk to them, it's good stuff. So,
Mm-hmm.
like I said, Josh, he called me Dr. Lee. It's in a playful way, but that really says a lot because, I've done a couple things with Josh, like work on his car and do some things for him, and there's no money exchange. These guys are a part of the extended family, and we sit and talk. We have a good time, like because it's not my son, he's looking at me as a grown man. And again, this is the next tier of you guys' lives.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have time to waste your time with a bunch of nonsense.
Right, right, right.
So I when it comes to nonsense, that's when I walk away.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm saying I work in an environment right now when nonsense starts off, I just get up and walk away. And they're like, Tuck, part. And I say, trash in, trash out.
Mm-hmm.
The trash, that's what comes out of your mouth.
Right.
So what I can say to young guys is always be careful what you're taking in because one day you're gonna have to teach
Mm-hmm.
your kid, your next kid, your nephew,
Mm-hmm.
someone you're gonna have to teach. So if you cloud your mind with garbage, which most of these people with no contents will do to you, because all it is gossip and drama.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta push it away.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And so one thing I want to point out is what you said about that. My dad is probably as big a reason as, any person that I watch speak about just social justice and even Black Power. I remember being a kid, and this was the edited version. He would have like Public Enemy playing, so I spent a lot of time listening to a lot of the words of Chuck D, and I remember listening to, particularly in my head, I always kind of play back "Fight the Power," you know, and that song is like a song that I don't know. It's just like it's almost like it's inside of me. Like it's like fight the power. So it's almost like don't allow anything, any group, any person to keep you and the people who you love in a space where you can't elevate, where you can't become better. And so that song, I remember going down going down the road and having that on in the car. Of course, the edited version, because like you said, you didn't do a lot of cursing, and so you weren't going to have us exposed to all of that. So that's something that I learned from you too. But I would say just you playing that music, kind of like just that's what I grew up on. I'm sure that, and then you got Chubb Rock, of course. We love Chubb Rock. You put us on all that stuff. So I mean, just those fond memories I had with you. And I'm gonna let you go ahead and talk about the whole transitioning from just being a father to being being from being a father to being a grandfather. We have my nephews Bentley and Boston. They're in Texas, and they're my sister's son's Felicia. So he's already a grandfather. This will be a bit different because with me and Diana living here, he'll have more physical access to this to Bean is what we're calling him right now. You'll find out when he drops. I'm very proud of him. He didn't come in the middle of this episode. You might have seen us scrambling and trying to do some things if he would have came. But what is that like? Well, you can talk about Boston and Bentley transitioning to being a grandparent there, and even your relationship with Felicia, and how that is, and how you feel about that. And then kind of talk about this having this grandson that's going to be here physically, literally, because we're going to be moving and living with you. How does that feel?
Well, like you said, Boston, youngest grandson right now, and Bentley being the oldest, because they live in Texas makes it a difficult
Mm-hmm.
uh, situation to be able to just go over their house. And we do a lot of FaceTiming and being able to keep up with what's going on in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
So and Felicia, she wants to get here as bad as I want to get there, and but in time it will happen. I'm not too concerned about the you got the corona situation at hand right now, so it's not even really smart to be trying to travel around too far too much.
Mm-hmm.
But they know we love them down there in Texas, and
Absolutely.
they're a part of this family as much as, even though being two 2,500 miles away. Um, so it's nice when they call me and we do the FaceTime, and basically I catch up with the youngins. They get their own time with me on the computer, so there's a lot of them showing me the different outfits they have, and he goes from Batman to the Cowboys. Just he just, again, imagination, being creative, and those are the things you don't want to take from your kid
Mm-hmm.
if he has them. I call it, what I've seen in the past, breaking a kid's spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you don't ever want to do. You let that kid be who he's going to be, and you let him grow into the man and the imagination. It could be whatever he wants to be in life. You just support it and be there for your son and or daughter, um, so that they can be who they are. But
Mm-hmm.
breaking a kid's spirit because you're frustrated is probably the worst thing a parent could do to changing a kid's behavior. Because what a kid may decide to do is take a different path, and that might be the streets.
Mm-hmm.
Because you broke his spirit, the safety net is not at home, and the kids in the street, gangs or whatever it may be, decide that they're going to show you how to help your kid get through life, because your kid's venting to them,
Mm-hmm.
not to you. So there's another phase I can remember about both you guys that I told you when you were younger, when you went to school, when you got home, what was the first thing you had to do? Share your entire day with me, because I need to see if I need to decipher to some nonsense that may have happened,
Mm-hmm.
or if everything was good. And that's what, we used to do when you guys were younger, just to understand that, okay, they were safe today and nobody said anything off the cuff.
Mm-hmm.
So the transition piece on becoming a grandfather, I think is a great piece, especially when it becomes boy, young man to man. Basically, you're a man. I just trying to do a tier step. Um,
The whole levels of maturation, like
Yes.
how I grew up.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
So you're at the man stage now, and I feel like you're ready to be that man to raise your kid. So the position I want to be in is basically like a consultant.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be in a situation where I'm blocking you from being the man you're going to be
Right.
for
Right.
your kid.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be the consultant in the event that you say, Dad, what are some fun things I could teach my kid or talk to my kid about?
Mm-hmm.
I'm right there for you.
Right.
I want to be the guy in the background again, so that you need any advice about, parenting in a fatherly way.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I would be. you know I love kids. The kids are like,
Mm-hmm.
half the neighborhood knows who I am as far
Yeah.
as kids. So they spend a lot of time stopping down to see me, and we have conversations, and
Mm-hmm.
I know how to talk on their level. So
Right.
it's a gift to be able to even have patience with a 2-year-old. Like my next door neighbor, I put a bell up outside my house, and I call it the Hannah bell.
Mm-hmm.
So you can hear her in the house next door hollering, Uncle Levi, Uncle Levi. As soon as she comes out, if I'm not outside, she'll ring the bell.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just small things you do for kids and young adults that just make their day. And that bell will mean a whole lot to her. she'll be graduating high school and remembering like how fun it was to come out of the house and ring the bell, and it's just like our little thing that, her mother and her father says, "Did you ring the bell today?" And she's like, "Uncle Levi," and then Aunt Ann saying, "Uncle Levi's at work," and then she's upset. She's going back in the house.
Mhm.
So it's just funny. So she tries to visit with me as much as possible. She'll come out of the house looking for me. So getting back to parenting, it's like even from a standpoint of being a grandfather, you never stop parenting. Like I still parent you, but in a whole different level. I
Right,
still
right.
parent Jordan in a whole different level.
Mhm.
Because you're only in your 30s, will be 31. Jordan's 27. So there's things that I did when I was 27 and 31.
Mhm.
That's what I could teach you. I could teach you if you need to get off at the next exit before something happens at 32 and
Right.
Jordan at 28.
Mhm.
So I said, put the turn signal on now. We're getting off at the next exit because
Right.
these are the things that might happen in this time.
Mhm.
You might say, well, maybe it won't happen. But then I got it in the back of my head as you're approaching that exit and you see it, you say, oh, yeah, that is what my dad talked about. But the turn signal on, you're getting off at the next exit because you don't want to experience something that you're already told about.
Mhm.
So I just try to give you guys a lot of insight, and that's where I would say I would be, around here. I'm not going to, like I said, you said you wanted your son to have a lot of hair. Hey, that's your son. I can't.
Mhm.
That's the benefit of raising a kid. That's you.
Mhm.
You could give him a tattoo, and I'm just using that as an example.
Mhm.
That's your son. So, you know, I just like I said, I'll be in the background when you say pops. It's time for you to get in the game. Let's go.
Right, right, right.
So I'll tap the table. They'll buzz me in, and I'll give you the information you need.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, you know,
So, I mean, that's a great, great thing. I just want to kind of talk about one thing you said. I think the specialist stories were so important because as children, there's that block of the day where you're at school and your parents are at work. And you always want to know, like, what is my dad, like, for us as little boys, it's like, what is my dad doing? What is he doing all day? What is, like, just imagine it. Like, oh, we, like, yeah, he says he's a postal worker. He delivers mail. Okay, cool. But what is he really doing? So to hear the stories, it's like, oh, that's my dad's, like, you know, alter ego, like the being a postal worker, but he's really like out saving the world and making sure everything. And so you leave the house, and I'm going to close with this. This will be the end of the episode. When my dad would leave the house and then come home, we'd come home, and things like that. In my mind, because our world was so settled, and he was a huge part of that. In my mind, it's like he is saving the world because he goes out the house and he comes home and all is well. And so it's like, as a kid, you always look at your dad. I always look at my dad as a kid as a hero. And so I could only go off of the specialist stories, knowing that that was him, and say, my dad is out there saving the world. And to this day, it's that's how I look at him. He's larger than life to me. Sometimes when I look at him, and I feel so honored as a man that he looks at me now and says, "Look, you ain't little boy no more. You have your own stature. You have your own thing going on." One of the biggest I guess accomplishments in my life wasn't even getting my degree. To me, it was when my dad told me he knew I was ready to get married. It was when my dad told me he knew that I was built and ready to be a father, when we found out we were having a child. So those are the biggest points of my life. And what I want to say to close is, fathers are important, very important. I wouldn't feel the way I feel now about being a father, as far as not being nervous and being ready to step up to the plate, if it wasn't for my dad. If it wasn't for you, Pop, that's not how I would feel right now. I would be lost. I would be like, I don't know what to do. I know a lot of people who didn't have their father in their lives, and they become fathers and they have to figure it out. Well, this is large degree because, like I said, the foundation, I don't have to figure it out.
right.
So I thank you for that, and I appreciate you for doing more than just saying, "Well, I put a roof over your head and I keep y'all safe physically." what more do y'all want? I mean, in food in your stomach, what more do you want? No, you said no. We're gonna have fun. We're gonna go play ball. We're gonna go, watch the planes come in. Something as simple as that. Don't cost any money, but it's one of the biggest memories of my life. Some of the stuff you spent, fireworks. Some of the stuff you spent money on, I don't even remember the game systems. I remember them, but I'm saying they're not the biggest
quality time.
Memories in my mind. They were great things, and I appreciate those things. But the biggest memories of my life probably didn't cost anything. It was going over to the airport, watching the fireworks. You letting us use your shirts to sleep in, telling a specialist story so that we can put context to how we already viewed you as a person who would go out to work. And so I just appreciate that. I want to say happy Father's Day to all of the fathers out there who are going above and beyond, like my father did. You don't understand, you might not understand how much it means until your child grows up and is sitting where I'm sitting now and telling you the same things that I'm telling my father. And so just keep at it, keep at it. And for the fathers who may not be doing that right now, the time is always right now. You can step up and do it. No judgment. Don't worry about those who may have something negative to say. Just worry about that child and step up now. If you haven't been on your game, it's okay. You need to, well, it's not okay, but don't let that stop and hinder you from getting in the game, because fathers are important, particularly right now, as my father brought up about Black Lives Matter. Because guess what? Your child is not going to know that they matter unless you let them know that. So you need to let them know that they matter, like my dad did for me and my brother. He let us know from an early age. So we just not going to accept any old kind of treatment from any old body, because my dad said, I am somebody. So I appreciate you, Pop. I love you. I appreciate you coming on. I know you don't do the internet thing like that. So I know that this right here was an act of love to come on the show for me. And I just wanted to share with everybody who's going to be able to see this, a relationship between a father and a son, particularly a Black father and a Black son, that is healthy, and that is only going to yield greatness and excellence going forward. So again, I love you. And that concludes this first episode of Chopping It Up with Tuck. There will be more content coming your way, some more, good memories to go over, some more topics to chop up. And, I hope you all tune in going forward. So again, happy Father's Day. And I hope you all enjoy your day, and spend time with family and your children. So that's it. Talk to you later.
Happy Father's Day.